other thing that I want to review with you is really the best way I've found to prepare for a compare and contrast type question. There's a lot of information in this unit that really lends itself to that kind of analysis. So I want to go through with you again a nice way to set up a Venn diagram, so it's not so random and haphazard and easier to use. And also easy to tell if it's balanced. Remember, balance is the biggest pitfall that gets people, not having things balanced. And that's not just high school students. I've seen a lot of university papers with the same problem. It's just an easy mistake to make, so we're not going to make it. All right, compare and contrast. Yesterday we were talking about Athens and Sparta, pulling some of that information together. So you have your two circles, ovals, overlapping stuff. Athens and Sparta. Now, the best way I've found, for my purposes, doing a Venn diagram that I can use, is to split it into sections. We've done this before, but it's been a while. So let's just go ahead and do some horizontal lines.
For everything else, there's MasterCard.
That was bad. All right. Now, each of these horizontal sections we can use for a different characteristic, starting with cultural values, which is a big thing that was, a conflict between Athens and Sparta. And then we talked a lot about the differences between the lives of men and women, getting into some cultural stuff. And we talked about the military. And government. Now, instead of just sitting down with two circles on a piece of paper and throwing random facts all over the place, which then, are completely disorganized, you can't really use them, give this a shot when you're working on this stuff tonight. There are other things you could do from this unit on a Venn diagram, but this is the best one, I think, as a place to start. So, for example, if we're talking about cultural values, in Athens, what was important to them? Art, beauty, democracy. Okay? What was important to the Spartans? They were very militaristic. So we can say military glory. Whoops. Okay. And it was also very important for all of their citizens to be very active, very athletic. So they wanted the same kind of physical perfection that we see in other parts of Greece also. So we can call that, physical fitness. As kind of a catch-all, because the women fell into that category too. Now, we usually focus on the differences between these two city-states. But if we had to pinpoint something that they have in common, obviously they share some things culturally, because they worship the same gods, and you have the language, and they're growing the same kinds of foods and all of that stuff. But in terms of cultural values, the things that are really important to them, there's an important principle here that we can put in the middle, and it might actually fit. And that's arete. That should be right there. Arete, that idea that you should always strive for excellence. Now, they're going to apply it differently. In Athens, it's going to be, political. It's It's going to be artistic. It's going to focus on things like theater and poetry and later philosophy. In Sparta, again, physical prowess, your success in the military. Okay, so they're both striving for perfection, but in different ways. All right, lives of men. Something else we can look at here. We know in Athens that they got married at age 30. That they were the only ones in the society who were citizens. We know that they had an obligation to be involved with the government. Okay? Important stuff here. With Sparta, we know that as boys, they entered the military at age 7. This board does not want to cooperate. They started fighting at 20. They could retire at age 60 if they were still alive. And by law, they were not allowed to practice a trade. They couldn't be like a part-time farmer. No other jobs. They're in the military 24/7. The only time they got that was time off was during religious festivals. That was it. Now, there's some pretty big differences. Is there anything we can put in the middle? Yes, because they're both obligated to the state in different ways, but they both have obligations. Spartan men have an obligation to serve the state militarily, to put their lives on the line, and to do it, for honor and glory. And it was a privilege to die in battle. This is what they were born and bred for. In Athens, they had an obligation to participate in the democracy. It wasn't like, maybe I'll participate in the assembly if I feel like it, maybe I'll show up. No, it was something they had to do. So, in the big picture, again, we see that they have obligations. It's applied differently in the city-states. We could do very similar things going through the lives of women, looking at the military, and looking at the government. For military, you could look at it in terms of, maybe when they cooperated. Remember that Athens had the best navy. Sparta had the best army. So if you're talking about the Battle of Salamis or Salamis, it's a naval battle, it's right here. If you're talking about Plataea, which was fought on land, it's right here. This is a good way to break things down. And then, if I ask you a question dealing with a specific characteristic, you've already got this organized in your mind. You're not digging around through a big pile of random facts trying to figure it out. Give this a shot. Practice with a blank sheet of paper at home and see what happens.